So this is going to be a different type of video than what I would, usually make, but I recently made a few models, and I figured some of you all would like to see how an amateur modeler would make these. So, without a further ado, let's dive right into this mess. So ever since I was a kid, I had loved the Railway series, and I've especially loved the television series, and one day I just said, I want to make a model. And I did. Of which I forgot to record the entire process of. So after waiting for a long time of thinking, how am I gonna make another one, I eventually asked a friend to 3D print one for me. And he did! To my absolute surprise. So after waiting for about a week for it to be printed out and all the pieces to be put together, it was given to me in a bag. And when I held this little blue bastard for the first time in my hand, I knew what I had to do. The first thing I did when I got home with these models was set them on my workstation that I so freshly just cleaned up. And I immediately went and sprayed Annie with some Tamiya primer, as most modelers do. When I realized I didn't take any pictures of it, starting to see a pattern here. But afterwards, I took Thomas, and we were in the middle of a beautiful, also raging storm outside. So I had to spray him while he was on my finger. And I coated my hand in spray paint, but it was worth it because I got him, sprayed. I did try to put him in a tub at first, but that didn't really work. Moving on, the first thing I did once I had got this blue motherfucker sprayed was get him back inside, back on the workbench, and lathered in a first very thin but very nice shade of blue. And the blue I used is actually a Apple Barrel Award blue. It's definitely not one you'd think anyone would use, but I thought it was a very pretty blue, and I used it on my old Edward model, and it worked surprisingly well. So I just kept layering it, adding more, and while it dried, I started working on Annie, getting her some orange that I mixed myself, so I don't know what to tell you there about the color. So eventually, after that, Thomas had his first full layer of blue done, and I started on the black. I did his running board while the black dried, went back over with some more black, more red on the running board, and eventually he was looking pretty good. So I set him down for a bit and decided to work on Annie. I took her, I guess you'd call it chassis or running board, and I sprayed it with some primer. I painted it black. Most of the painting I do is by hand because I don't trust spray paint. I put the roof on and I put the bogies on. And at the time I didn't have any buffers for her, so she was kind of bufferless. But we'll get to that later. We'll get there. But in the meantime, let's discuss an unexpected part of this project. So in the print files, there were multiple coaches, and I ended up with one right one and one wrong one. So I got the bright idea is like, hey, there's a Railway series story where Thomas has a special coach. Maybe I'll make it his special coach since I didn't want to waste the print. So I found a coach base that I thought was pretty, and then I went for it. And then I changed that completely, but we'll get to that later. So then Thomas was looking pretty good. He's blue. He's got 6 wheels. What else could you lining? I had to do his lining. When I watched other people's modeling videos and everything and how they described lining and all of the tasks for it, I didn't think it was that hard. But oh my god. I hated this lining so much, and it didn't even turn out that good. But I got it done eventually. Not proud of how it turned out. And after that, I took him to the garage. I looked for a can of, sealant coat, whatever you want to call it, that didn't look expired, and I sprayed him, locking in all of that hard, sweet, succulent work. And I think it paid off. He was looking really good. I mean, for something that my monkey-brained, malnutrition, dumb, not talented self could make, he was looking very good. Surprisingly good. So, taking some inspiration from other videos, I crushed up some real coal, stuck it in his coal bunker, sealed that in with some glue, put him on his wheels, which aren't working sadly, and boom, he was done. I mean, he was pretty darn perfect for my first ever model that well, second ever model, as you can clearly see by Percy right there. But, you know, I was proud of him. He was pretty well made for the most part, and he looked great next to Percy. Eventually, I printed them out some faces that I found on Twitter. Credit to whoever drew them. I'm so sorry I can't find the original name or the original post, but they're beautiful, 10 out of 10. And I took some pictures of him and the other engines on the layout. I feel really proud of how he turned out. For, you know, my second time ever doing this. Definitely could be better, could be a lot worse. Now we're on to what I was mentioning earlier, the special coach. It was a print that I really liked, but I didn't have extra pieces to do it. So I made the roof out of a piece of paper that I had covered in plastic putty to make it a little more solid, and then carefully glued to the coach. And then I painted it in a nice kind of cherry red, and I wanted to make cream colored window coach thingies, but I ended up not feeling up to repainting them, so it's a little bit darker than I'd like, but I think it's alright. And after I had painted it in black, red, and cream, I covered it in some tape, and I primed the roof. That way it had that nice gray shade. And that's when I realized I didn't have a chassis for it to sit on, so I had to painstakingly kit build one. Don't ask. I don't want to go into detail about that. It was horribly painful. But in the end, I think it worked out alright. I just had to, you know, use that plastic putty to fill in a lot of mistakes and a lot of holes to get it to even look decent on the chassis, but trusting the process, you know, it worked out in the end, and I stuck its wheels on, and boom, you know, just one more coach to go, and I'll have Thomas's whole train. And that about wraps up this video. So, thank you if anyone has made it this far into the video, to the end, for watching. I know I'm not the greatest at editing or really making videos, but, you know, I'm very new to this stuff, so this being one of the first videos I've ever made that doesn't involve me filming in trains or Blue Train with friends is pretty intriguing to me. You know, it's not the greatest, it's not the most attention-seeking, but I think I did decent. So if you want more content like this, I plan on making every single engine in the Thomas series. I'm starting out with the Farquhar branch right now, so I just need to make Toby, Henrietta, and, you know, I'm possibly Mavis if I can find a 3D shell for them. And that about wraps it up. Thank you all for watching. And if one of you has a Genty engine for Thomas, can I please have